Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we have the latest from the live radar. Run for the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days as we now can stretch out all the way through the bank holiday weekend, and conditions aren't looking too bad at all. We're not looking at loads of hot and sunny weather. I know some people would like that, but what we are looking at is plenty of dry conditions, temperatures around average for the time of year, high teens or low 20s, with some sunshine in places. I think the only downside we're going to see over the coming days are the temperatures aren't going to be anything too exceptional, not really going to exceed maybe 25 degrees. And we are going to see quite extensive cloud. And that's just because we are seeing slight lowering in pressure with winds coming in off the North Sea, at least initially, and that's going to allow a lot of clouds to get trapped under the high pressure system, and it's not really going to move around all too much. That's the only downside over the coming 5 or 6 days. However, as we head into the middle of next week, as we've been speaking about a lot in the last few videos, we are going to see a real change into the final few days of August and start of September. Westerly winds are going to make a return as a result of ex-Hurricane Erin, which is going to really power up the jet stream into next week. We are looking very likely now to see low pressure coming in off the Atlantic in some sort of capacity, whether it's Erin with its remnants bringing some stormy conditions, or whether it's the subsequent powering of the jet stream. There's a high chance now, at least from the latest runs, that we do go into something quite a bit more unsettled, at least compared to the past few weeks. Runs like the GFS today, my gosh, do show an autumnal end to August and start to September with lots of low pressure around, heavy rain and strong winds. Complete contrast to what we've got at the moment, where things are fairly stable. So we'll look at that in detail in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, which you like and subscribe. And you can see, calling this around 8 PM on Tuesday evening, and conditions aren't too bad this evening. A few bits and bobs of rain across the northeast. Again, this is because we're starting to see that northeasterly wind coming in, cooler air, but also some thicker cloud and some drizzly rain. Some showers further south and westwards, as we do have a low pressure trying to squeeze in, but it's not going to make much progress. And this just has these lingering showers that we've seen over the past day or so, continuing in a few spots. Well, we've avoided that rain across the southwest, and the cooler conditions across the northeast, across central areas. It's not been too bad today. Temperatures widely high teens, low 20s, in around average for the time of year. Could dip more below average in the next day or two. You can see those blues further northwards, and that's because of that sea breeze in off the North Sea. So nothing too great coming up over the next few days, but generally speaking, it's a lot better than it can be, and that some runs were showing a few days ago. Now, do look at the latest UKV. You can see not too much is actually going on the precipitation front over the coming days. Some bits and bobs of rain under the thicker cloud, but during Wednesday we are likely to see that cloud burning back towards the coast with a lot more sunshine around. Into Thursday, it's a similar story. Again, some thicker cloud in places, but some sunshine breaking through. Into Friday, a bit more extensive cloud and a few bits and bobs of rain. So if you are getting away there Friday evening for the bank holiday weekend, not going to have too much trouble with rain out there, so it should be pretty decent conditions. Into Saturday, the westerly flow does start to arrive, but it really takes its time to push in, probably not until Tuesday, Wednesday, until we actually see full weather fronts making their way in. Some thicker cloud and some bits and bobs of cloud, but apart from that, should be some breaks in the cloud, and it should be pretty decent indeed. And then as we finally head into Sunday, again, pretty sunny and pretty decent conditions. You can see the extensive cloud out to our west. This is that westerly flow trying to push in. But for Sunday afternoon, we remain dry and fairly pleasant. And from the looks of the latest runs, Monday looks like a similar story. Tuesday, Wednesday, though, is where we could see that switch. If we do look at the mean sea level pressure, you can see lower pressure is close by, just to our west. The remnants of Erin there starting to try and move in. But by Sunday, we're still under higher pressure, and I suspect we'll still have fairly strong high pressure influence into Monday as well. Now, temperatures aren't going to be particularly great. You see this afternoon, temperatures are low 20s. We saw a bit of sunshine and dry conditions. Further northwards, mid to high teens. Further westwards, mid to high teens as well. So whenever we see that cloud moving in, it will be inevitably a bit cooler. Wednesday could top out at 20 to 22 degrees. Nothing too great, but again, with those sea breezes, a little bit cooler. Thursday, pretty similar to that. Again, 22, 23 topping out. Teens elsewhere. And into Friday, again, could just about top out 20 to 22. But with that extensive cloud, more central areas could see those cooler conditions prevailing. Into Saturday, a bit warmer with more extensive sunshine, widely 18 to 22 degrees. And the same could be said for Sunday, where temperatures could actually climb even higher. Maybe even 25 degrees could be seen there. So we do see a little bit more sunshine in for the weekend, and the temperatures jumping up by a couple of degrees. And it does make all the difference between sort of 2021 to 25. It is a good sort of shift especially when we see some more sunshine. So definitely some positive signs there for the weekend. But as I said, it all flipping into next week. Now, some people, of course, will be thinking, Hurricane Erin, we've mentioned these a lot. It's even now on the Met Office main page. The top news story, will Hurricane Erin affect UK weather? And the answer is yes. It will impact us to some extent, whether it's the remnants directly impacting us or whether it is the energy associated with Erin really powering up the jet stream, as we will see now. And this is the latest GFS, high pressure and control, no signs of anything low pressure, at least for the next couple of days. But you can see very quickly into the weekend, the remnants of Erin starts to arrive out of the Atlantic. And you can see where the UKV got to through Sunday evening into Monday morning. The remnants of Erin actually do kind of disintegrate away a little bit into a larger low that's forming to the south of Greenland. And what happens in the subsequent days, this really powers up, holds off to Tuesday, Wednesday, but then look at the subsequent days. The westerly flow comes in very quickly, and by the end of the run, we are seeing a barrage of lows in off the North Atlantic. Pretty deep areas of low pressure and containing some pretty chilly air. See, the temperature deviation is below average quite considerably there into early September, and we would be seeing lots of precipitation and strong winds. All these bursts of yellow there are strengthening winds moving in. So yes, not seeing a direct impact from Erin here, gets absorbed into a larger low there into early next week, could just about skirt the northwest, the remnants of the system, but you can see it kind of gets incorporated into that low around Iceland. But what it does do though is inject energy and really power up the jet stream. So by the end of this run, you can see the upper air winds are very strong, quite amplified, but these little kinks in the flow can actually allow the lows to develop further. But you can see just very strong jet stream in general, and it does mean that it would turn very unsettled there late August, early September. Now, if you look at the latest GM, it's broadly very similar over the next few days at least. Again, high pressure in control, the remnants of Erin moving in, but instead of getting absorbed into that low towards Greenland and Iceland, which isn't as well formed, it does actually head nearby, but sinks southwards. So a completely different track to the GFS. That's why still got a lot of uncertainty with this. It tracks to our south, allowing the jet stream to sink southwards as well. And by day 10, it opens the door to the Atlantic. It's nowhere near as strong as the GFS. These lows are nowhere near as deep. But what it does do, though, is dive the jet stream southwards. Look at this. The jet stream's not coming in from the west or flat across the UK. Once it gets towards Europe, it dives southwards. And it's this little kink here in the isobars in the flow down towards Spain and Portugal. That is the remnants of Hurricane Erin down there. So that's why we've been talking about the remnants of Erin are going to have such substantial impacts on the North Atlantic. The GM here not doing anything too remarkable out till day 10. The UK, yes, we'll see lower pressure, we'll see showers, we'll see rain, but it's nothing too crazy. But that's because Erin clears well to our south, dragging the jet stream with it. I think the biggest impact for the UK will probably be the temperatures. You can see cooler conditions do prevail. You see lots of blues there across the North Atlantic getting dragged into southern Europe as well, with heat on sort of the leading edge of the system, and that's all because of ex-Hurricane Erin. Now, if you do have a look at the latest ECMWF, the midnight run, again, high pressure in control, low pressure, pretty progressive there for Monday. So perhaps lows even arriving in the west for the bank holiday Monday, but Tuesday properly arriving and looking very unsettled there out towards day 10. Again, uncertain how much this low can hold, or how much the high can hold off the remnants of Erin there towards the end of the week. But regardless, looking pretty unsettled there. That's something to keep an eye on, as that could dampen the conditions there through the bank holiday Monday. As I said, most runs, as we just saw, do hold the high pressure in control just a little bit longer than the ECMWF by a day or two. But Eastern WF here is pretty progressive, and it does go pretty unsettled through much of the final week of August. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, you can see over the next few days, cooling temperatures, as we saw that on the UKV, but looking pretty dry for the next 6, maybe 7 days, maybe stretching out to next Tuesday, but as I said, as we saw from the Eastern WF, a bit of uncertainty. A little spike in temperatures around next Tuesday, Wednesday, the upper air temperatures there, and that's because as the lows move in, because the winds move in an anti-clockwise direction, it actually drags up a southerly ahead of these lows, and that's why there's this little bump in the upper air temperatures with that warmth that's sort of contained in the leading edge of hurricane or ex-hurricane Erin by this point could push in, and that's why we see this little spike in warmth before it drops off again, and then we see the unlocking of the Atlantic with lots of precipitation. Sea level pressure dipping considerably from around next Tuesday, Wednesday onwards. Again, that's the potential Atlantic onslaught arriving. Again, uncertain the exact pattern there, but definitely looks like the Atlantic will be unlocked to a certain extent. And 2 meter temperatures, nothing too terrible over the coming days. As I said, high teens, low 20s. Warmer as we head into early next week, potentially, with southerly winds arriving ahead of the lows. And then it drops off beyond that as we do start to see the Atlantic really moving in. And finally, if we look at the latest ECM WF, it's broadly very similar. Upper air temperatures dropping off over the next few days, climbing up early next week, but that coincides with a big increase in precipitation in around 6 or 7 days' time. Some runs have it for next Monday, but most is next Tuesday or Wednesday where the rain really starts to move in. So let's keep a very close eye on the pattern over the coming days. We've got another good 5 or 6 days of decent conditions. Bank holiday weekend at the moment definitely looks great on Saturday, Sunday. Most likely Monday will be decent before deteriorating conditions on Tuesday, but Monday afternoon could have deteriorating conditions in the west if you go by runs like the ECNWF operational run. After that though, Tuesday, Wednesday onwards, definitely looks likely now that conditions are going to deteriorate quite considerably. We could be setting up a very unsettled final week of August and start to September. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.